Hello, I'm Nathaniel Cruz. For my history finals for this semester, I decided to do a little drawing of one of the trains of the Transportation Revolution and talk about the whole Transportation Revolution in general. I hope you enjoy. The Transportation Revolution was a revolutionary way of travel in the 1800s. It started in the early 1800s with the U.S. making man-made rivers called canals. They were huge waterways for many water transportation vehicles. One of the canals of the Transportation Revolution I learned about was the Erie Canal. The Erie Canal is a 363-mile-long canal between the Hudson River and Lake Erie in upstate New York. It started in the early days as a series of essays of routes and coast by Jess Harley in 1807. His essays caught the eye of Assemblyman Joshua Foreman, who submitted the first state legislation related to the Erie Canal in 1808. In 1810, two men by the name of Thomas Eddy, a treasurer of the Western Island Log Navigation Company, and State Senator Jonas Platt approached influential Senator DeWitt Clinton to enlist his support. On March 13th, a measure was introduced in the state senate naming a canal commission and directing the commissioners to survey a route for the canal which would connect the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. The measure passed. A couple of years later, on April 15, 1817, the New York State Legislature approved construction of the canal. The bill authorized $7 million for construction on the waterway, which was 363 miles long, 40 feet wide, and 4 feet deep. Construction began on July 4, 1817, in Rome, New York, and it would take 8 years to complete. Governor DeWitt Clinton officially opened the Erie Canal on October 26, 1825. He sailed the packet boat Senegal Chief along the canal from Buffalo to Albany. After traveling from the mouth of the Erie to New York, he emptied 2 casks of water from Lake Erie into the Atlantic Ocean, celebrating the first connection of waters from east to west in the ceremonial Wedding of the Waters. The canal's success was part of the canal building boom in New York in the 1820s. Between 1823 and 1828, more lateral canals opened, with the Champlain in 1823 and the Oswego in 1828. Then came the steamboats. The first steamboat was built in France in 1783, but the very first steamboat in the United States was built in 1787 by John Fitch. It's the first steamboat that successfully navigated the Delaware River. He then later built a large vessel to carry passengers and freight between Philadelphia and Burlington, New Jersey. After a continuous battle with rival inventor James Rumsey over similar steamboat designs, he was ultimately granted his first U.S. patent for a steamboat on August 26, 1791. However, he was not awarded a monopoly, leaving the field for Ramsey and other competitive inventors. During 1785 and 1796, he constructed 4 different steamboats that successfully plied rivers and lakes to demonstrate the feasibility of steam power for water locomotion. His models utilize various combinations of propulsive force, including rank paddles, patterned after the Indian war canoes, paddle wheels, and screw propellers. While his steamboats were mechanically successful, he failed to pay significant attention to construction and operating costs. After losing investors to other inventors, he was unable to stay afloat financially. Then came Robert Fulton. In 1802, he contracted with Robert Livingston to construct a steamboat for use on the Hudson River, and on August 17, 1807, the Clermont, his first American steamboat, left New York City for Albany, serving as the inaugural commercial steamboat service in the world. It made history, with the trip being 150 miles that took 32 hours at an average speed of about 5 miles per hour. 4 years later, they designed the New Orleans and put it into service as a passenger and freight boat with a route along the lower Mississippi River. By 1814, Fulton, Livingston, and his brother Edward were offering regular steamboat service and freight services between New Orleans, Louisiana, and Natchez, Mississippi. Their boats travel at rates of 8 miles per hour downstream and 3 miles per hour upstream. 1816 came, and Henry Miller Shevd came with his steamboat, the Washington, which completed the voyage from New Orleans to Louisville, Kentucky in 25 days. And then steamboats began to improve over the years. By 1853, the New Orleans to Louisville trip took only 4.5 days. Steamboats contributed greatly to the economy through the eastern part of the United States as a means of transporting agriculture and industrial supplies. Then finally, we come to trains. The first trains of the Transportation Revolution were built in England for connecting the cotton mills of Manchester and Liverpool as a competition on October 6, 1829. All of the trains failed except one train by George Stephenson, named Rocket. It then turned into the first railway in England. In its first year, the Manchester to Liverpool Railway carried 500,000 passengers. Back then, the population of England was just 10 million. In 1833, Stephenson invented the Palatine, which was a faster train model that could transmit power more effectively to pull heavier loads in more carriages. And then Britain starts making more railways that link more of its growing number of factories, with its fast expanding ports opening up markets across the world to Britain producers. Britain becomes the workshop of the world. Their railways allowed the transmission of goods, services, people, and communications outside of the UK. Within decades, they're producing three-quarters of the world's cotton cloth, coal, and iron. The first train in America was called Tom Thumb. It was invented by engineer Peter Cooper in 1830. It was used to carry passengers on America's first stretch of track. It was 13 miles long, from Baltimore to Ohio. Later in 1837, the 440 was built for the West. It used wood as its fuel instead of coal since America is not producing enough. Its design layout was unique. It had four large driving wheels for more speed and power. It also helped the train handle a roughly built track. Then America starts to create the Transcontinental Railroad. The U.S. government commissioned two private companies to build this railroad. This railroad is going to connect Sacramento, the east, and Omaha, the west. With the Union Pacific starts in the east and builds west, and the Central Pacific starts in the west and builds east. Each company is paid by the mile of track laid. This building of the track became a race. The construction process was really dangerous, with some workers dying and attacks from Native Americans. They hired professional gunmen to keep them away. It took 3.5 years to complete this railroad. Finally, on May 10, 1869, the railroad was finished. To commemorate this meeting of East and West, two 440s, one from each side, were brought together in Utah. This will be remembered as one of the greatest moments in railway history and American history in general. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this artwork, and I hope you enjoyed the video presentation. I'm glad you all enjoyed. Thank you.